Welcome to the Central Texas Huddle on Lone Star Gridiron. I'm your host, Tony Blaylock, and I'll be back with the action from Central Texas high school football after these messages.
With open enrollment coming soon for Medicare, ACA, Obamacare, and small group plans for businesses with less than 100 employees, if you're in need of health insurance solutions, look no further than HAP Insurance Agency. Yes, HAP Insurance Agency is a fantastic resource right in the heart of College Station, Texas. Whether you're in retirement, a business owner, or simply looking for the best health coverage option, HAP Insurance Agency has got you covered. You can find them in College Station at 1551 Greens Prairie Road West, Suite 101A, or give Holly Pritchard a call at 972-897-0814. That's HAP Insurance Agency.
Looking to boost your company's marketing? Look no further than Fresh Media Works. Podcasting is the best way to promote your brand and increase your customer base. You can create your own show, be a guest on other podcasts, or advertise on existing podcasts to reach a valuable audience. Don't wait. Start elevating your marketing game today with Fresh Media Works. Call now, 713-269-4620, or find us online at freshmediaworks.com/podcasting.
I want to thank HAP Insurance College Station, Fresh Media Work, and Nani's Sweeter Side for their sponsorship of the Central Texas Huddle. And let's get right into the action from Week 7. Start off with Vista Ridge and Westwood. Vista Ridge wins the game 26-21. They are now 2-1 in district play and have an inside track on a playoff spot. For Vista Ridge, leaders in the game were Jason Arnaud, who was 10 of 12 passing for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns and added 23 yards rushing. J.D. Jackson had 14 carries for 70 yards and 2 receptions for 59 yards. And Jake Pendo had 5 receptions for 19 yards. For Westwood, the leaders were Owen Norrell, who was 16 of 30 passing for 210 yards. Damani Stewart had 32 carries for 184 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Lane Wood had 8 receptions for 108 yards. Now let's move on to the Buda Johnson-Austin High game. Buda Johnson scored midway through the fourth quarter to take a 20-19 lead over Austin High and held on to win by that score. Johnson is now 3-2 in district play with a key game coming up against Austin Bowie this week. For Buda Johnson, the stars of the game were Kel Hatnot with 23 carries, 97 yards, and 1 touchdown. Carson McMullen had 69 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 77 yards rushing. Dale Hamilton had 1 reception for 56 yards, and that went for a touchdown. Our next game was Steele and New Braunfels. Steele leads wire-to-wire to beat New Braunfels 27-14 to win their District 27 6A opener. For Steele, Chad Warner was 12 of 16 passing for 257 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Cooper had 6 receptions for 143 yards and 1 touchdown. Jonathan Hatton Jr. had 16 carries, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. For New Braunfels, Leighton Adams was 9 of 15 passing for 131 yards. Tyree Johnson had 19 carries for 69 yards and 1 touchdown. And Lance Begley had 9 receptions for 136 yards. Sticking in 27-6A, Clemens jumped out to a 42-14 halftime lead over San Marcos. San Marcos cut the lead to 42-34 early in the fourth quarter. Clemens got back on the board with around 8.5 minutes left and pushed the lead to 48-34. San Marcos scored with under 2 minutes left in the game to cut the lead to 48-41. The ensuing onside kick went out of bounds and still holds on to win their opening game in district play. San Antonio Harlan and San Antonio Sotomayor went to overtime. Both teams scored in the first overtime. Harlan scored on the first possession in the second overtime, and then came up with an interception to still seal the 44-38 double overtime win. For Harlan, Noah Ferris was 22 of 36 passing for 337 yards, 4 touchdowns. He added 37 yards rushing. Peyton Matthews had 14 receptions for 241 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Tavion Ford had 9 carries for 39 yards. For Sotomayor, Jaden Gutierrez had 22 carries for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. Evan Vine had 73 yards passing, 1 touchdown. And Roderick McKinley had 2 receptions for 74 yards and 1 touchdown. Let's go out down to 4A D2 in a big, much anticipated matchup between Leander Rouse and Belton. And Rouse beat Belton to move to 2-0 in district play and hand Belton their first loss of the season. Score was 32-20. For Rouse, leaders were London Morgan, who was 13 of 25 passing for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keller Rogers had 7 receptions for 162 yards and 1 touchdown. And then 3 different rushers, Justin Cannon, Jayton McLaren, and Leland Smith totaled 29 carries for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns, with both of those touchdowns coming from Justin Cannon. For Belton, the leaders were Reese Rumfield, who was 16 of 29 passing for 180 yards and 1 touchdown. Sean Snap had 12 carries for 84 yards and 1 touchdown. And Isaac Abel had 7 receptions for 65 yards. Next up, Pflugerville at Waco University. Pflugerville at Waco University. Pflugerville scored with under 1 minute left in the game to knock off Waco University by a score of 30-26. For Pflugerville, it was Cole Taylor, 26 of 38 passing for 345 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kyron McFrazier had 11 receptions for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. For University, Caden Bynum had 9 of 16 passing, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns. London Smith, 4 receptions, 205 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Ladarius Evans had 19 carries for 95 yards.
Do you have a party coming up or just want a special gift? Check out Nani's Sweeter Side. Yes, Nani's Sweeter Side makes the most amazing custom-created sugar cookies with your design. They also offer paint your own cookies and decorate your own cookies. Those make an excellent sweet activity that you can sink your teeth into at parties. Nani's also offers some of the most amazing cupcakes ever. You can check out Nani's Sweeter Side at nanisweeterside.com. That's N-A-N-I. Check her out on Facebook. Just look for Nani's Sweeter Side. Or give her a call at 937-499-4790. At Nani's Sweeter Side, you'll find that happiness is homemade.
Hey, did you play Texas high school football? If you did, you're part of an elite group, the Brotherhood of Texas High School Football. All football players, past and present, who have ever suited up in the Lone Star State are eligible. Go to LoneStarGridiron.com/brotherhood. And thank you for the part you played in the greatest sport in the greatest state.
Move on to the Liberty Hill San Antonio Veterans Memorial game. Liberty Hill scored early in the fourth quarter to make a 21-21 tie and hold on for a 28-21 win. For Liberty Hill, Ben Carter had 29 carries for 193 yards and 3 touchdowns. Joe Pitchford had 17 carries, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. For San Antonio Veterans Memorial, James Peoples had 13 carries for 176 yards and 1 touchdown, and he added 1 47-yard reception for a touchdown. Clinton Dixon was 6 of 10 in the passing game for 80 yards and threw 1 touchdown pass. We'll go down to 4AD2. Waco, Connolly, and Gatesville. Gatesville scored with under 4 minutes left in the game, went for a 2-point conversion and converted it to take a 29-28 lead. Waco Connolly then stormed back and scored with under a minute on the clock to grab the 35-29 win. For Connolly, Kiefer Sibley had 25 carries for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns rushing. He added 4 receptions, 71 yards, and 1 touchdown receiving. Jarrett Shepard had 86 yards passing with that 1 touchdown pass to Sibley. For Gatesville, Rashawn Smith had 29 carries for 213 yards and 2 touchdowns. Going down to 3AD1, Little River Academy and Cameron Yo were tied at 21 at the end of the third. Little River Academy scored touchdowns on consecutive possessions to walk away with a 36-28 win. For Academy, Kavili Neely had 32 carries, 190 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Casey Mraz had 11 of 15 passing, 142 yards, and 1 touchdown. And Vincent Williams had 6 receptions for 68 yards. For Cameron Yo, Kadarius Bradley had 17 carries for 141 yards and 3 touchdowns. Braylon Drake was 10 of 19 passing for 135 yards, and Jaquarius Hardman had 5 receptions for 82 yards. Go down to 2A, where it was Three Rivers versus Shiner, and Three Rivers walks away with a 45-30 win. For Three Rivers, Caden Thomas had 18 carries for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. Caden Sliz had 19 of 29 passing for 211 yards. Xavier Carranza had 7 receptions for 108 yards. For Shiner, Trace Bishop with 16 carries, 144 yards, and 3 touchdowns rushing, had 2 receptions for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns receiving. Todd Brooks added 16 carries for 121 yards and 1 touchdown, and Cameron Evans had 124 yards passing for 2 touchdowns. And 2AD2, highly anticipated game between Chilton and Bremont. Bremont led 14-7 at the half and walked away, and Chilton walks away though with the 28-27 win. Bremont scored late in this game, trailing 28-21, got it to 28-27, went for the 2-point conversion and failed, and Chilton walks away with the win and takes control of the district play. Now let's go over the LoneStarGridiron.com rankings for the Central Texas teams. You can see all the statewide rankings at LoneStarGridiron.com. We start off in 6A, where we have Westlake tied for number 4 statewide. And this week they will be hosting number 21 Dripping Springs. Vandergrift is tied for 6th, and they will be at Round Rock this week. Number 11 Lake Travis will be hosting Austin Anderson. And number 12 Cibolo Still will be hosting San Marcos. In 5AD1, Smithson Valley is tied for 5th, and they will be hosting San Antonio MacArthur. College Station is tied for 7th, and they will be at Neander Glen. And number 13, San Antonio Wagner will be hosting Bernie Champion. 5AD2, Alamo Heights is tied for 9th, and they will be at San Antonio Harlandale. 4AD1, number 2 Bernie will be hosting San Antonio Memorial. Number 7, China Springs will be hosting Waco La Vega, who is tied for 13th in our rankings. Number 9, Stephenville is at Waxahachie Live. Number 12, Davenport will be hosting Canyon Lake. In 4A D2, number 2, Wimberley will be hosting Manor New Tech. Number 6, Square Up will be at Gonzales. And number 15, Waco Connolly is open. In 3A D1, number 1, Franklin will be at Troy. And a really big game in 3A D1, number 4, Columbus will be at number 3, Hitchcock. Number 11, Lorena is hosting Rockdale. Number 12, Jordanton is hosting Crystal City. And number 15, Yoakum is open. 3AD2, Post is tied for 5th, and they'll be hosting Nixon Smiley. In 2AD1, number 10, Mason is at Johnson City. Number 11, Holland will be hosting Thorndale. Number 13, Centerville is at Groton. And in 2AD2, number 1, Mark is open. Coming off their big win over Bremond, Chilton is tied for 5th and will be hosting Bartlett. And then number 10, Granger will be at number 11, Bremond. That's going to wrap it up for the Central Texas Huddle for this week. I want to thank Hap Insurance, College Station, Fresh Media Work, and Nani's Tweeterside for the sponsorship of the Central Texas Huddle. Tune in next week. We'll go over the results and statistics from this week and look forward to Week 9.